Welcome to the Everything Podcast. In this episode, I'll be discussing the announcement of Rutans versus Sontarans. But before I do, I should mention that this episode is being recorded on Sunday, the 8th of February, 2026. And this announcement was made yesterday for me, obviously not for you, on the 7th of February, 2026, obviously between the episodes that I recorded on that day. But yeah, before I get into the press release properly, I did mention when I was talking about the Big Finish contract extension for producing Doctor Who audios, that did take me surprise because it was sport to me this, because normally, I mentioned it in that episode as well, which depend upon if you're watching or listening in the order. I don't know which way round they'll be released, but it didn't surprise me that they did announce something because they've done that before. So I think last year it was the announcement of the Ninth Doctor and Rose adventures with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. I think the year before it was the announcement of Dark Gallifrey. So we've had that. So I thought, okay, the contract extension, that's the announcement. Okay, right, let's now wait till Monday where we might get some more news. So, and I should mention there was only a 1 hour difference between them announcing those two bits of news. So this one took me by surprise, and it's got various doctors in it, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's read it, which is titled, believe it or not, Rutans versus Sontarans. The endless war across the chaos continues in a brand new audio miniseries from the worlds of Doctor Who, beginning April 2026, but they could finally be peace, which means if there wasn't already enough Big Finish releases for April 2026, here's one more. And then we've got the cover for the first story titled Betrayal at the House of Sontar, which I will talk about in a sec. We've got a synopsis for the series, basically. There are many stories of the Sontaran-Rutan War, but one hidden thread is yet to be revealed, a tale told across millennia from before the war to its possible end, as the Doctor is about to discover. The belligerent, clone race, the Sontarans and the slippery shape-shifting Rutans have waged war across all time and space for longer than even the Doctor can remember. A new full-cast audio series, Rutans vs Sontarans, will take us back to the beginning of the war and ahead to a point where it might finally end. Following on from the popular 2024 mini-series, Sontarans vs Rutans, which I must have talked about on the channel, and I believe it did, and may have even recapped one of them. This brand new arc of adventures will feature doctors and companions from across the history of Doctor Who, uncovering a new insight into the Sontaran-Rutan War, which has intrigued Who fans since it was first mentioned in 1973 TV serial The Time Warrior. The set begins with the fugitive Doctor, played by Joe Martin, encountering the Sontarans very early in their history, following by a story featuring the second Doctor, played by Michael Troughton, Jamie, played by Fraser Hines, and Zoe, played by Wendy Padbury. Then it's the turn of the Sixth Doctor, played by Colin Baker, and Perry, played by Nicola Bryant, before the climactic episode brings back the fan favourite team of the Eighth Doctor, played by Paul McGann, Charlie Pollard, played by India Fisher, and Chris, played by Conrad Westmus. The 4 episodes are Betrayal at the House of Sontar by John Dorney, due for release in April 2026. We've got a synopsis for that story, which is as follows. On the run from the mysterious organisation called Division, the Doctor has come to the planet Sontar, home of the Kadvich Empire and their armed forces, the Sontarans. She wants sanctuary and she's offered the secrets of the Time Lords in exchange, but with the whole of time and space up for grabs, the stakes are high. Can everyone on Sontar be trusted? We've actually had a cover for this story, and probably is the one I'm most looking forward to because it's the Fugitive Doctor, which obviously is technically a new series Doctor, even though we don't know necessarily where she fits in. She was introduced in series 12 of the new series. So we've got Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor back in April. Because when they tend to do these kind of series, they tend to go for the classic Doctors. So obviously in this series we also got the 2nd, 6th and 8th Doctors in there as well with their companions. But it is nice to have kind of the new series Doctors feature. So Dark Gallifrey, quite similar to that at the moment. When obviously the new series of Dark Gallifrey are announced and we know who's in it, then that might change, but at the moment most of them similar. We've had the 4th Doctor in the first set, then we have the War Doctor, who similar to the Fugitive Doctor is technically not in the new series timeline but was introduced during it, and then we had Then who do we have? Then we have the 7th Doctor, and then the 8th Doctor as well. So it would be nice to have some of the new series Doctors in that as well. So yeah, that's normal. But let's continue with now the story that features the 2nd Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, which is titled Rendition, written by Tim Foley, which was due to be released in May 2026. So it's following that monthly release schedule like Dark Gallifrey does, and some of the other series as well, and as Sontarans vs. Rutans, which is kind of a sequel to. We've got a synopsis for Rendition, which is as followed. At the edge of the Sontaran Rutan war, a large medical ship lingers in space. The Doctor and his friends find a group of strange survivors aboard, planning something unusual to save their commander. What new powers do the Rutans possess? What secrets do the Lockhart hold? As the conflict creeps closer, the Doctor must work out how to rescue those no longer versed in war. We then have Grave Moon, written by Lisa Hopley, due for release in June 2026. This is the 6th Doctor and Perry story, which has the following synopsis. The Doctor and Perry track a criminal imposter to a moon sanctuary of Healing Ponds, only to discover the lone Rutan the Doctor has previously met, trapped in a self-made web of lies. Experiments to rejoin the host have forged a bond with grieving pond farmer Uland. As their mutual obsession tightens, so Uland's ponds grow more polluted and their farm cut off from what is really happening on the moon, a full-on Rutan invasion. As the Doctor and Perry strive to free Mammoth and Uland from each other, another Doctor is at work close by with far-reaching plans of his own for the lone Rutan. That's interesting. So there's 2 Doctors seemingly in Grave Moon, and it's a he. So it's interesting to see which Doctor that will be. It might be on the cover. Would they spoil that? Or who knows? As I've said in previous episodes, I've stopped guessing when Big Finish are going to announce things, because they don't necessarily do it in a chronological order. And the 4th and final story in Rutans vs. Sontarans is titled Peace at Last, written by Tim Foley, which will be released in July 2026, which is the 8th Doctor, Charlie and Chris story, with the following synopsis. On the precipice of peace it stands. After the destruction of a major stronghold, the Sontarans proposed something extraordinary. More extraordinary still, the Rutans said yes. The Doctor, Charlie and Chris are on hand to watch history being made. Yet history has other ideas. A plan that has taken centuries is about to come to fruition. The Mammoth is returning. Rutans vs. Sontarans will begin with an episode released on the 2nd of April, obviously that being the Fugitive Doctor story titled Betrayal at the House of Sontar, just written by John Dorney. I want to make sure I get it right. So it'll be released on the 2nd of April 2026, so yeah, less than 2 months to go until we have a Fugitive Doctor story, which would have been the 100th birthday of legendary Doctor Who writer Robert Holmes, creator of the Sontarans. The following 3 episodes will be released monthly, as I said, in May, June and July respectively. Producer David Richardson said Sontarans vs. Rutans was very well received, and when a second run was commissioned, I knew we had to do something different. A new overarching story told largely from the perspective of the Rutans, although the Sontarans are still very significant in these episodes too. Also, we have a different combination of lead cast members and even some multi-Doctor action in a tale that spans many millennia. It's exciting, it's surprising, and it might just break your heart too. That is the press release for Rutans vs. Sontarans, which kicks off with the Fugitive Doctor, played by Joe Martin's story of the set. Betrayal at the House of Sontar, written by John Donny, which will release on the 2nd of April 2026. So let me know in the comments below if you're planning on listening to Rutans vs. Sontarans when it is released from the 2nd of April 2026 and continues monthly from then on. But without further ado, I will see you in a future episode of the podcast. See you then. Goodbye.